of your company semester project, we are going to calculate beta. What we need to calculate beta is simply your prior assignment, stock returns. So this is my stock returns that I have right in front of me. And it's actually, once you have your data and your returns, beta is fairly simple. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight columns D and E, the actual returns of GE and S&P 500. Remember, beta is your company's sensitivity to the market. It's a measure of systematic risk. So we're going to plot a scatter plot to see how GE varies with variation or volatility of S&P 500. So we highlight these and we go to insert, and we're going to insert a scatter plot this time, XY scatter. This is important. So we have your second graph. This is going to be your assignment. Now, there's a few. So this is your graph. Now some graph adjustments, and you're good to go. So this is a scatter plot. It shows that when a point on x-axis moves, the point on y-axis is here. So we're gonna first make sure that this is the correct scatter plot. So we're gonna go to select data. So to have the right one, you have to be on the scatter plot graph, select data. And the X values must be S&P 500. This is the most critical part of this assignment. I have it in bold letters in your assignment instructions. So we want to make sure that the X values is going to be S&P 500, and it is not here. So depending on how you calculated your returns, whether S&P 500 is in column D or E, you have to change that. So my GE returns are in column D, my S&P 500 are in column E. So my X values have to be column E, my Y values have to be column D. And it's the other way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to manually change it. So I'm going to go to the column, delete E and delete D and put E in there for column reference, D, switch that. So now I also need to do the same thing with Y values. So I'm going to go and change E to D, press OK. See, my graph changed. Let me do this again. Let's check select data if it worked. So my X values is E, is column E, which is S&P 500. My Y values is column D, which is GE returns. Okay, that's correct. So this is your correct graph. Now, if you notice, my title is S&P 500 returns. That's not what it is. Excel just guessed the title based on column titles. We have to rename this. This is going to be your company's beta. So this is going to be my company's GE beta. Okay, that's my graph. Now, my axes are formatted incorrectly. So I need to change my axes. I'm going to go the same way as you did the line graph. I'm going to click on the axis, right click, format axis. And I'm going to go down to number. And I'm going to change this to percent. Notice how this changed. And I'm going to do 0 decimal places just to make it just look smaller. And then once I click off, the decimals disappeared. And I do the same thing for the x-axis. And I'm already in this menu, so I can just go to percentage. And again, change decimals to 0. Click away, and I have the percentages here. Now, while in your line graph, the horizontal and vertical axes were just formatting and professional look, it is extremely important to have your vertical and horizontal axes in this graph, because your reader will not know what the x-axis and the y-axis is. So I'm going to go to add chart element, just like we did in the prior one, and I'm going to add primary horizontal and primary vertical axis, and I'm going to call this S&P 500 returns. and you have to make sure that this is correct. Okay, I'm going to be grading this, and my vertical axis should be your company returns, GE returns. Okay, the last part. So now we're done with formatting the graph. You're almost there. The last part is we actually have to figure out what the beta is. Beta is going to be a slope of a line that minimizes the distance between all of these points. So it's like an optimized line where the distance between each of these points to the line is the smallest. How do we get that? Excel has already calculated that. We just need to add it. So we're going to right click on any of the data points, but you can't click here. You can't here. You have to click on the one of the data points, any of them, and you click add trend line. You add trend line, and of all the options here, we only are interested in display equation on chart. Now I have this equation. You guys need to move it somewhere so it's easily visible. It can be in the right hand corner, somewhere nicely aligned. It cannot be on the data point. Your beta is going to be your X coefficient. So my GE beta is 1.3688, or I could say 1.37. So GE's beta, based on my calculation, is 1.37. If you remember, 0.0082 is the risk-free return. We are only interested in beta. So for your assignment, you have some prompts that I'm asking you to go through. What is your, tell me what your beta is. How will your company's stock move with a 1% move in S&P 500? For me, with beta of 1.37, it means that for each 1% change in S&P 500, GE will move 1% times my beta. So 1% times 1.37 will be 1.37%. For each 1% change in S&P 500, GE is expected to move 1.37%. I also want you to talk about whether this beta differs from Yahoo Finance. So if I go to Yahoo Finance and I'm on GE Electric and I go to summary, the beta is 1.2. My calculated beta is 1.36 or 1.37. So it's a small difference. If your beta is 1.3 and the Yahoo beta is 1.7 or 0.5, then something is wrong. It's like a checkpoint for you. So if it's 0.7 and if they differ greatly, then maybe you didn't switch your X and Y axis going to select data, right? You have to make sure that the X values are S&P 500, the Y values are your company stock. And this may be different for every single one of you. It just depends on which columns your company returns are and your stock returns are. Okay. This assignment is due on Friday this week. You will have Thursday to ask me questions about it, or you can always email me.